I was actually introduced to wrestling at camp when I was 10 years old, and I had never done it, but I, won the camp tournament, and so clearly had some aptitude for it. And I came back and immediately joined Bethesda Boys Club. I had been pretty much a B student, and when I started off in wrestling. I was an okay wrestler, but was going up against kids that had been training and been in wrestling for a long time. And what I learned was that, that preparation and discipline and exercise and working out really mattered. So as I started to, run, lift, practice, and really get involved with wrestling, my results started to really improve. And I started beating people, and so that really felt good to me. And I started applying wrestling to life, and all of a sudden I started putting that same drive and tenacity into schoolwork. And so I went from being kind of a C and B student to a B student to a B and A student, and I somehow was able to get myself into University of Pennsylvania, and ultimately went to the Wharton School there, and that propelled me. Really, it started me off well for life, and so has ultimately helped me later in life. My career at the University of Pennsylvania was pretty short. It was 1982 and 1983, and I did start for the University of Pennsylvania, and I think the match that I recalled the most was that in the EIWA tournaments, I faced off against Bobby Weaver, who ultimately won the Olympic gold medal at 105. I was a lot bigger than he was. And a lot stronger than he was, and I actually did a lot better than I thought in that match, although obviously ultimately lost. But it again was a bit of a life lesson that that you got to kind of go in and throw your all into it. And I also remember the camaraderie and the fun of being, involved with, the wrestling program there, and particularly Roger, who was our best wrestler at that point, went on to nationals as the only person in our team to do that. Ultimately, coached the University of Pennsylvania.
When Josh came in as a freshman to Penn Wrestling, the program was at a very crucial stage and very pivotal time. During that time, those that helped persevere and move the program forward to provide those opportunities for future generations is very much appreciated and very much respected. Certainly in Josh's professional career with Apollo, he's witnessed and driven a great many turnarounds and business successes. And this is just a great tribute to the kind of determination that the sport of wrestling provides.
Even to this day, I'm, a physical fitness nut in terms of, running, swimming, biking, lifting, and all that came from wrestling. I now run marathons and compete in triathlons and things, and around mile 20, 21, 22 there can be an awful lot of pain that you're feeling, but you just have to kind of fight through it. I've never been the smartest or the tallest or the biggest or the most talented, but what I've always been able to bring is tenacity and a will to win. In 1990, there was a big recession in the U.S., and thankfully I'd gone back to school. I was at Harvard Business School. Leon Black, who I'd worked with, was able to raise money, and he brought me and a couple other people in, and we started a firm called Apollo, and that was in 1990, and Apollo went into the markets, and they bought the debt of many, and this was a unique strategy at the time, but bought the debt of many, many good companies, but that had bad balance sheets. And so we converted that debt to equity, and we ended up owning stakes in many, many companies. And Apollo was very successful in this strategy, and it grew from that strategy into more traditional investing as well as what we call distressed investing. And so Apollo is growing at 30% a year, and it has a $11 billion market cap, and the same three guys that started it way back there in 1990, I guess 23 years ago, we still own close to 60% of it, and we're managing it, and it's exciting. We have about almost a little under 1,000 employees, about 800 employees that work at Apollo, but if you were to aggregate all of our companies, We have, we have over 100,000 employees. I sort of oversee our whole portfolio, but I specifically split with my partner, and he gets all the fun stuff like American Idol and cable systems, and I get all the chemical companies and oil companies. So I said, look, this isn't fair. And I went out and led a group that bought the Philadelphia 76ers 2 years ago, and that's been a very enjoyable thing for me to do in terms of getting involved with sports, which, as I've said, is a passion of mine and something that I'd like to do more of.
Meet your new Philadelphia 76ers ownership group.
It's not wrestling, but it's been a labor of love and a nice thing for me. But like I do in everything else, I'm throwing my all into it, and I feel really confident that the Sixers will ultimately be restored to their former glory days, and if not, I'll die trying. I'd like to say, first of all, thank you to my wife for being there, through the last 20 years, and being there in good times and in bad times, and there have been many of both, but more good than bad. And also for the 5 wonderful children that we have, and it wouldn't be the same getting this great honor without you all being here. Thank you. Wrestling represents many of the values that I cherish, from hard work to discipline to athletics to health and fitness. I am honored and very much appreciate to be standing in the same room and being in the same room with people like Dan Gable and others that have come before me. I hope that I can help the sport.